Today is Monday, August 5, 2019 at 2:10 p.m. We're at the office of the State Attorney, 9th Judicial Circuit in Orlando, Florida. I am Richard Walsh, Assistant State Attorney, and with me is Mr. Jeremy DeWitt. Mr. DeWitt, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay. As you sit here today, do you have any problem seeing me or hearing me?
No, sir.
Do you have any problem understanding the way I talk or the types of words that I use?
No, sir.
Could you assure me that if I confuse you or you just don't know what I'm getting at, that you'll ask me to stop and explain myself?
Sure, yes, sir.
Otherwise, I'll assume that you understood my question and that your answer is responsive.
Yes, sir.
Do you see the tape recorder in front of you?
I do, yes.
And are you comfortable with the fact that we're recording this conversation?
Yes, sir.
And you are also here without subpoena. You're here voluntarily. Is that correct as
Yes,
well? I don't think it'll be very long, but if we need to take a break, please just let me know and I'll take a break. If for whatever reason you become uncomfortable and you want to stop, just let me know. We'll stop. I'll shut off the tape recorder and you could leave, okay?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions or concerns?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. DeWitt, what do you do for a living, sir?
I own Metro State Special Services.
And what type of business is that?
We deal with high-risk funeral escorts, or we deal with all funeral escorts, charity events. We also escort public key officials.
And do you have employees that work for the company?
Yes, sir.
Are or at least some of your employees armed as part of their job duties?
Yes, sir.
Are all of them armed or just some are?
No, just some.
And do you require proper licensure for those people who are armed?
Yes, sir.
For the armed employees, do you provide the firearms for them, or do they use their own personal firearms?
We don't provide any weapons. They provide their own gear and equipment.
Right. Did there come a time when you employed a person by the name of Stephen Negron?
Yes, sir.
Did there come a time when you employed a person by the name of Constantine Tanada?
Yes, sir.
And did there come a time when you employed a person by the name of Sean Brijmohan?
Yes, sir.
Were they all, at one point, employed, all three of them together for your company?
Yes, sir.
Who did you employ first?
Stephen Negron.
And what was his job duties?
When we first brought him on, a gentleman that knows him very well recommended him. We brought him on, and he initially started as just a regular driving road officer for us.
Was he an armed officer or unarmed?
He was unarmed at that time.
And did that ever change?
No.
So the whole time he worked for you, he was unarmed?
That is correct.
Mr. Tanada, how did you come to know him?
We were short motorcycle men. Our business is mostly done on motorcycles. And we were short men. And I had put some Craigslist out, and anyways, long story short, Stephen had recommended Tanada and said that he had worked with him before in a security company. I think it was Freeman Security or PCI, one or the other, I can't remember.
So Stephen recommended Tanada? That
is correct.
And was Tanada an armed or unarmed?
He was unarmed. However, he did supply us with his licenses to carry weapons, and he had his weapons. We had submitted a background check on him. We hadn't received it back yet.
Have you ever seen Tanada with the firearm?
Yes.
And then Brijmohan, how did you come to hire him?
Same kind of scenario. We were short men. We were coming up to the month of October, which is breast cancer awareness. We do a lot of charity events for that, and we were short some guys. So Stephen had recommended Sean as well.
And so, just like with Tanada, Stephen had recommended both of them.
He recommended him, but he knew Sean for a brief time. He knew him through a security company as well. Stephen used to be a supervisor for a company called PCI. And a lot of the people that he knows or recommends, they usually they were at one time with PCI. So.
And did Brijmohan have another job that you were aware of when he came to work for you?
Yeah, he left PCI and started doing prison transport, but he was home on the weekends, so we were able to use him for escorts.
Was Sean armed or unarmed guard?
He was armed. Yeah.
And have you ever seen him with a firearm?
Yes.
So to your knowledge, all three of them knew each other?
Yes.
Right. And you hired Stephen Negron first, then Sean Brijmohan, and then Constantine Tanada?
No, Constantine was second.
Constantine was second,
Yes.
Brijmohan was third?
Yes.
All right. Did you ever see or do you know if they ever socialized together outside of work?
There was a few times that we all socialized outside of work. And then I know that Stephen, not so much with Agrol or Tanada. Later on I found out, which I was unaware of when we got his record back, and even Stephen stayed away from him as much as possible because Tanada was currently on probation for impersonating a police officer in Osceola County, which we didn't get the background check back fast enough.
Right.
But anyways.
Well, we need to kind of explain why you're saying egg roll and transport. So that the record is clear, how do you refer to the three people we've been talking about?
Because of our business, and I have 30 employees, and they do rotate a little bit. I was military, so it's easier for me to remember people by their call sign than their actual name, because quite honestly, tomorrow I can fire you and then I don't really remember who you are. So Recycle we call him Recycle because he was in Orange County Sheriff's Academy and he broke his wrist and was recycled.
So who is Recycle?
Recycle is Stephen Negron.
And that's how you would refer to Stephen?
In fact, I didn't even know his first name until this incident arose.
Okay.
So.
And tell me about egg roll.
Egg roll was Constantine Tanada. We called him egg roll because he said he liked Chinese food, and he looks a bit of a Asian descent, which is kind of inappropriate, but it is what it is.
All right. And what did you call Sean Brijmohan?
We called him transport because he was a prison guard transport. It was just easy to remember that.
All right. So if you were to lapse and use those nicknames, that's who you're referring to?
Correct, yeah.
All right. You were not present at the night at the Hookah Lounge when all these events happened, correct?
No, I was not.
Okay. But did you hear about it afterwards?
I did.
And how did you first hear about it?
When I first heard about it was that weekend. Brijmohan didn't come to work, and we were texting him and calling him over and over. We couldn't figure out where he was. A few days later, he had contacted me and advised me that he had been arrested. Then he started kind of telling me what was going on. He had told me that him and Tanada decided to pull a prank on he worked off duty occasionally at this Syrian hookah lounge, and the guy owed him a bunch of money and he wanted to pull a prank on him and get the money from him. So him and Tanada did a little event, he explained, and told me that his girlfriend went in and acted like she was an underage drinker, and Tanada acted like an MBI agent.
Did Brijmohan give you any more detail as to why this guy may have owed him money? He
had said that he owed him money because he was working security at his club or his hookah lounge a few times, and then he also owed him and Egg Roll some money due to the fact that the Syrian gentleman found out his wife was cheating on him, and he had them basically break into his own home to search for things that she might have and to take them out of the home. So he believed he owed him all this money for breaking into his home and then working security at that location as well.
But he told you it was a prank?
That is correct.
Did he explain to you what the prank was?
He told me that Tanada's girlfriend went in and acted like an underage drinker, and then Tanada came in and acted like an MBI agent, and basically told him that the only way they wouldn't shut the club down or the hookah lounge down was that he paid a fine. The amount was like $3,000 or $8,000. I don't remember the exact amount. I think it was $8,000. The gentleman didn't have it, so from what he explained to me was him and Egg Roll got in the car and went with him to the ATM, and he got him the money. And I was like, when I was talking to him, I was like, dude, that's robbery. He's like, oh no, it's all a joke. We're gonna give it back to him. He doesn't, it was all been planned. So.
Do you give your employees a badge?
I do.
Would Tanada, Negron, and Brijmohan all have had badges?
Mohan did not, because he was new. He was only with us like 3 weeks when this had taken place. Recycle had one. Yeah, he had one. And Tanada, he actually had one because he went in the office without my approval and took it out of the drawer, out of where we keep them. I didn't find this out until later on, but.
Would you have authorized any of them to use or show their badge at the Hookah Lounge?
No, not at all.
All right. Did Brijmohan say anything about whether there was a badge displayed at the hookah bar?
Yes, he advised me that Constantine was wearing a suit and wearing one of my Metro State badges. And then I actually called Constantine, or he said he was wearing the badge and displayed the badge and said he was an MBI agent. I actually contacted Constantine that day and found out that he was wearing that badge. I immediately terminated him.
Okay, when you say you found out, did Constantine admit that he was wearing
Yes.
that badge? Did any of them mention if they were wearing any firearms?
Tanada was wearing, he said, a weapon under his jacket.
Did he say what type of weapon?
He did not. He said, well, it was a firearm. That's all I know.
All right, and how do you know it was a firearm?
Well, we were talking, and I was like, but what do you mean you were wearing my badge? He's like, yeah, I was wearing a suit, a gun, my badge, one of the earpieces from the uniform, from the radio equipment, and I went in and I just acted like the MBI agent.
This was on the phone, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't FaceTime or anything. It was just
No.
what? Did you recognize the voice of the person you were talking to?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Any doubt that you were talking to Tanada himself?
No.
Same thing with your phone call with Brijmohan. That was not FaceTime or any kind of Skype or anything?
No.
He'd been with you for about 3 weeks. Did you recognize his voice?
Yeah.
Do you have any doubt that you were talking to Brijmohan?
No.
You said Brijmohan indicated that he and Tanada, I believe you said Egg Roll, but he and Tanada broke into the owner's house at the owner's request.
Correct.
And he was entitled to get paid for that.
That is correct.
Did he tell you how much he was going to be paid?
He did not. He said that it was supposed to be a few $1,000s. That's all he said.
Did Tanada talk at all about that portion, or did that not come up in your conversation with Tanada?
We were talking about the uniform thing. However, later on when he brought his girlfriend to the office where a bunch of us were, because I immediately fired him, he came about 2 days later. Because here's the thing, he was actually living in one of the storage units 3 rows over. So 2 days later, I was at the office along with some guys, and he came over with his girlfriend and was explaining to us the situation with the suit and the badge, and that he was just trying to help Transport get the money back for him and Transport, because they had broken into the house to scare the wife and get some things to prove that she was cheating.
Okay. So Tanada did in person acknowledge that he did break into the house with Brijmohan.
Yeah, at the office, yeah.
As far as the scaring of the wife, was she home? Was the idea to literally scare her, or was it just
from what I understand, she wasn't home. They were just supposed to kind of mess things up and then look for proof that she was cheating.
So leave obvious signs that there had been a break-in.
Correct.
All right. As far as this wife goes, was there any discussion that that the owner of the hookah lounge was beating or in any way abusing his wife?
That no one ever said anything about that. so I can't answer that.
All right, so this is the first you've heard of any kind of...
Altercation with the Syrian and his wife?
Yes, or any concerns that she was in fear for her life from him or anything like that?
I do know there was at one point, Stephen was talking, and he had said that she was very scared for her life because she was trying to leave her husband. That was just, I don't even remember where that came from. That was in a conversation we had a lot later when I was letting Stephen go.
All right. But no more detail than that?
Correct.
Any discussion at all about putting trackers on vehicles that she might be driving?
Yes, they were supposed to do that when they were at the house,
Right.
but she wasn't home.
All right. So when you say they, we're going back to Constantine
and
Brijmohan. And who told you about that?
Eggroll told me about that. And Brijmohan Transport told me about the house situation, not the tracking, but he did tell me about the house situation, what they were supposed to do, and what he owed him when we were on the phone. And then Eggroll explained to me about the tracking devices and how they were supposed to mess up the house to make it look like so she would be in fear of her life.
Any discussion at all about planting cocaine or any drugs?
That I did not hear.
Okay. So would this be the first time you've ever heard that?
Yes.
Right. Did Brijmohan mention at all on this phone call, the first time that we started talking about, did he mention Stephen Negron and his involvement?
No, not for the house thing. For as far as the hookah lounge, he didn't know what was going on. It was all a prank.
Wait. Let me just stop you there. When you say he, you're referring to Negron.
Correct.
Okay. And you say that why? Why do you say?
Well, Transport and Eggroll both told me that Stephen had no clue what was going on. He was there to hang out with Transport because Transport was in a bad mood because his dad had slapped his mom.
All right, so this is Brijmohan's father had supposedly slapped Brijmohan's mother.
Correct.
Which made Brijmohan angry or sad?
He was sad, so he was at the bar drinking, and he called Recycle to come over and hang out with him. Me and Recycle were supposed to talk on the phone because we had an escort coming up, and he was supposed to know the details about it. And he told me we would do it tomorrow because he needed to go hang out with Transport because Transport's dad had slapped his mom, and he was in a bad mood. He needed to, let off some steam at the bar or at the hookah lounge. So he went to the hookah lounge, and then. Go ahead.
Okay. So that's what Brijmohan told you in the first phone call was basically that Negron knew nothing about this? Oh,
yeah. He said that, in fact, he said to him, Stephen was like, why is Eggroll here, and what is she here for? And he said, is that Eggroll's girlfriend? And Transport was like, just calm down, relax. He's just playing a prank. And then next thing you know, Stephen said he had to go get a sweater or a jacket. I can't remember what he went to go get from his car. And he went out to the car, came back in, and at that point Transport was by Eggroll. And so then when they were all done, Transport sat back down with Stephen.
Was it Brijmohan who told you that Stephen went out to the car, or was it Stephen who told you?
Stephen told me that. I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah. So that did not come from Brijmohan.
Right. Correct.
All right. And then, so do you recall anything else that Brijmohan told you about what happened that night?
Just that when he went up there, he kind of was telling the Syrian that he was going to help him out with the officer, and that they would go get the money and they would pay the officer and they wouldn't get shut down. So that he was doing that, and he was kind of helping him, but at the same time it was a prank.
And did he tell you why he decided to play a prank on this man?
He said that the Syrian gentleman owed him a bunch of money from doing security at the hookah lounge for a few nights, and also when he and Eggroll went to the house to scare his wife, he was supposed to pay them for that.
So how does the prank... I guess I'm Did Brijmohan explain to you how this prank was designed to get him paid for the money he thought he was owed?
Yeah, so the Syrian guy had said he didn't have the money, he didn't have the amount of money that he promised him. So that's why I remember it's, like I said, I think about 8,000 all together. So when they went to they made him go to the ATM or the banker to take the money out, his idea was once he got it out, he would see how much he really had, and then he would tell him, hey, we're just setting you up, but now that we know you actually have this amount, you need to pay me the money you owe me.
All right. At a later time, did you talk to Stephen Negron himself and find out, and did he tell you kind of what his side of the story was?
Yes. He came to work, and we had fired Tanada, but we had a big escort coming up, and it was a biker event against child abuse. But so he was on that escort, our transport was on that escort as well. And when Stephen got to work and saw that transport was still there, he came in the office immediately and he said, I can't work today. I need to go the other way. I need to resign if you're going to continue to. He's like, I need to resign. So then we sat and talked for a few minutes because Stephen, over the course of, he's been with me for a while now, over that time, he actually ended up becoming a very important person in the vehicle division. So I sat him down, I was like, what's going on? So he kind of walked me back through what I had already heard from Tanada and Transport. And he said that now these guys were saying that it was his idea or something like that. That's what he was saying. And that he was worried to be around them so he couldn't work anymore if I kept him on.
All right, let me make sure I understand this. Stephen is telling you that the other two, meaning Tanada and Brijmohan,
right,
seem to be blaming him.
Correct.
All right. So so that's why he couldn't be around them anymore.
Right. But it was, and I said that to Stephen. I said, but that doesn't make sense because Tanada and Transport both told me that they did it and you had no clue what was going on. So I don't understand why they're saying that now, and I definitely don't understand. And I told him, I said, I definitely don't understand, because I was desperate for making sure he came to work, what that has to do with you working with him today. It's not like he's going to say or do anything that will alter what's happening with what's going on today while we're on this escort.
What was his reaction when you told him that both Brijmohan and Tanada had basically said he had nothing to do with it? That's when
Stephen's actually a really calm, normal guy. He's very, I would say, almost laid back. And at that point, he became very, I don't want to say the word scared, but he was shaking a little bit, and you could see his eyes were a little glossy. Maybe he was going to cry. And he was saying to me, I've been telling everyone that that's what they're saying. Nobody's listening to me. He's like, I have no clue what these guys were thinking or doing. I was just sitting there drinking my beer, his drink, and texting my girlfriend. And next thing I know, and he's like, it's the same thing that I was telling you. And I was like, I understand.
All right. Are you sure that both Tanada and Brijmohan separately told you that Negron had nothing to do with it? Or was that just something you told Negron because you wanted him to stay and work that day because you needed him?
No, they both told me that. And like I said, Transport told me first on the phone because I was really upset that he didn't show up to work. And then Tanada he told me that 2 times. One time on the phone when I was terminating him, and the second time when he came to the office to try to keep his job. That it was all a prank, that it was a joke, it was not anything but a joke, and that Stephen had no clue what was going on.
Okay. So then the third conversation was with Tanada when he came in?
Correct.
And I know we've touched on it. Was there anything more that Tanada told you then when he came in, that other than what we've already talked about?
Not really, but his girlfriend was there at that time, and he explained to me, because I had never met her before, he explained to me she was the one that went to the bar, and she knew it was a joke, and it was all a setup, and that's the story. So,
do you have any idea whether they made any money out of the...
I do know they took money out, and he had given them the money. He gave it to Tanada and Transport. I don't know how much, and I don't know what was done with that. I do know that Egg Roll explained to me that Transport had possession of it and hadn't given it to anyone.
So Brijmohan had all the cash?
Correct.
Any of them tell you they returned any or part of the money?
Neither one of them.
Right. Now, Tanada tried to keep his job, right?
Correct.
Did Brijmohan also try to keep his job?
No. No.
All right. I'm going to show you 2 pictures now.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you if you recognize who this person is here.
Yes, that's Transport, or Sean
Brijmohan?
Brijmohan, yeah.
All right. Would you please write, would you please either write on the bottom of it if it's enough space, or we could put it on the back, who you think it is, and then sign and date it. Thank you very much. All right. If you were to see Mr. Brijmohan again, do you think you would recognize him?
Yes.
If you were to see Mr. Tanada again, do you think you'd recognize
Yes.
him? And if you were able to see Mr. Negron again, would you recognize
Yes.
him? Okay. I'm now going to show you a second photograph and ask you, I think there are 3 people in there.
Yes.
Do you recognize any of those 3 people?
Yes. That's Tanada, and that's Transport, and I don't know who this is.
All right, when you say Transport, we're talking about Sean Bridge.
Correct.
All right, so you recognize 2 out of the 3 individuals.
Right.
Of the 2 people that you recognize, would you write who you believe they are, sign your name and date it, just like you did before?
Sure. In fact, Egg Roll's wearing my badge on his hip right there.
Okay, and you could write it in the larger space. You don't have to.
All right. I can't spell his last name.
Who?
Transports.
Well, just you could just write Sean or. Was there any version between Brijmohan and Tanada, Transport and Egg Roll? Were there stories about what happened similar?
Yes, they were similar. The only difference was Egg Roll explained that when they went to go get the money from the ATM, the Syrian gentleman didn't want to go, and they basically forced him. And I explained to him that's kidnapping in the state of Florida. So, and I told him at that point, because his girlfriend was standing there, I was like, I can't have you back on my team right now. You'll have to let this go away or dismiss before I can bring you back on.
All right. Is there anything else that you think we ought to know?
I mean, everyone makes mistakes, so I definitely don't want to talk ill or bad of anyone. But, the one, I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really do any justice or explain anything. But like the one time I let Tanada borrow my truck, I got a call from Osceola County deputy telling me that, he was driving through red lights with the lights on and the siren on. The same thing with Transport. The one time that I gave them uniforms, the next thing I know, they're at a restaurant with uniforms on, and the server called me complaining that they were demanding, discounts and stuff. And that, and I don't remember, but somebody else told me, I can't remember who, and I'm really sorry right now, but that they thought he was a federal officer because he said he was a federal prison transport guard. So they thought he was a federal agent. So that's one of the reasons. Again, everyone has issues in their life, but I've tried very hard in the last 10 years to make sure my business is run very smoothly, because Orange County and Orlando police, they're not very happy all the time when they see my company. So I try to make sure I weed out problems like that, and when I hear things from other people, it causes alarms, and that's why they were let go immediately. So.
Anything else that you think you need to correct, or maybe as you sit here today, now you say, well, I said this, but maybe I was mistaken, or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. So then we're going to end this interview at 2:42 p.m.